Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Greene from Advanced Dermatology and Laser Institute of Seattle. Today, I want to give some good descriptions about melasma. Melasma is a very common condition that we see that's in the hyperpigmentation category of skin disorders. Melasma is a common skin condition that can present with light brown, dark brown, and blue-gray patches on the face and neck. It frequently is first observed at the end of pregnancy or while taking birth control pills. It's worse during the sunny seasons of the year and sometimes provoked by certain medications that increase sensitivity to sunlight. Melasma occurs in men and women. Women represent about 90% of cases, and men will also represent 10% of the cases. And it occurs in general in about 30% of pregnancies. From my experience of many years in practice, I've really come to appreciate the importance of evaluating patients who have melasma in the setting of a board-certified dermatologist. We are trained to diagnose all the pigmentary conditions. The best chance of putting melasma in remission is making the correct diagnosis, which takes a number of years of experience and training. The most common things that we do see that are included in the differential diagnosis of melasma include conditions that turn on the pigment cells due to inflammation or trauma in the skin. Most common inflammatory condition that we see that also turns on pigment is acne. And those patients can develop what's called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Sometimes in our patients with warmer skin types that we see in our practice also can get pigmentation that's undesirable. For example, in inflammatory conditions like eczema, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis even can turn on the pigment factory in the skin, causing pigment that can be confused with melasma. In diagnosing patients with melasma, we use a device called a Woods lamp. It's a long wave light beam that allows us to identify the depth of pigment in the skin. And there are different forms of melasma. In fact, there's an epidermal form, which has an excellent prognosis. And then there's a dermal form, which has a more challenging form of melasma to treat. So it's really important both to identify, does the patient have melasma, as well as what type, that will give us a sense of prognosis. You have changes both on the forehead, on your nose, your upper lip, and on your cheeks, all the way down to beneath your jawline. It's quite comprehensive, the exam that we're able to deliver today for you. So there are a number of triggers that are associated with melasma. I've already mentioned that during pregnancy there's an increase in female hormones and melanocyte-stimulating hormone. But what's really helpful to know is that after a baby is delivered and after breastfeeding is completed, those hormone levels are diminished, and it's very common that melasma will greatly clear or disappear altogether. However, there are other triggers to be aware of, and this is part of the secret sauce of the best treatment outcomes by identifying what those triggers are. First area of triggers is diet and nutrition. This is something under-recognized and emphasized to our patients. What's really known now is that a group of plant-based sources of food that people eat, the so-called phytoestrogens, plant-based estrogens, which include soy and sweet potato and other foods in this list, will actually upregulate and stimulate the melanocyte to produce too much pigment. Let's try and decrease those foods in our diet. The next trigger I want to talk about is the trigger of natural sunlight as well as energy sources indoors. Traditionally, we've always talked about the influence of ultraviolet light from sun exposure, and we have recently come to recognize that patients who work in front of computer monitors, and in our practice, we have patients in front of 1, 2, 3, and even 4 monitors that are emitting lots of radiation and energy on the melanocytes of our patient's skin, and this stimulates more melanin production and being an adversarial trigger for melasma. When I see a patient who I consider and then diagnose with melasma, differentiating it from other pigmentary conditions, I consider a therapeutic ladder of treatment options that I will share with patients to see what's appealing to them. The therapeutic ladder has lower rungs, medium rungs, and high rungs. And as we go higher up in that therapeutic ladder, it's more likely that faster results will be achieved for patient satisfaction. Well, let's first start with the lowest rung on the ladder. The first would be diet and food choices. I've mentioned already, certain foods aggravate this condition, particularly the phytoestrogens, and sweet potato and other food options can be demonstrated, and we'll provide a chart to list what other foods are on this important prevention list. Next on the therapeutic ladder is sun precaution, sun protection. This includes hats that are really 360 degrees of coverage, of shielding of the face, not just a baseball hat. You want to avoid the midday sun. You want to wear a sunscreen with at least SPF factor rating of 40, 50, 60. Now in the modern age, we recommend. There's a great supplement that I commonly recommend called HelioCare that is sourced from a fern that grows actually in Central and South America, and it's quite helpful in complementing topical sunscreens. Cosmetic camouflage should always be considered, and there are some nice products on the market that can be considered. Dermablend is one very great cosmetic camouflage product that's popular and found in most high-level department stores and online. Next, we should consider topical products. I would divide this into 2 major classes. One, the hydroquinone containing class, and then there are non-hydroquinone products that we commonly recommend. Moving higher in the therapeutic ladder would include some in-office treatments, which include chemical peels. There are a number of great chemical peels that we have found effective in our practice. The VI peel is a real favorite one, and we have examples in our practice, examples on our website even to show you before and after examples of success with chemical peels like the VI peel. Also, there are laser treatments, the next level on that therapeutic ladder. The 1927 laser is wonderful. We have the Laser MD Ultra, which is effective in diminishing pigment in our patients with melasma. Melasma can be a chronic condition and require a change in lifestyle and identification of all the triggers in their condition. It's my greatest hope that when I die one day, that it will be stated on my tombstone that Dr. Greene cured melasma.
I hope so too. Perfect.